So today I'm going to be asking the question, why would a photographer in 2014 still shoot film? Almost every professional image you see today is captured using a digital camera, so what is the point of analog film? First things first, let's take a look at the basic differences between the two formats. Digital cameras are easy, fast, and cheap. It's easy to see what your exposure looks like because of the LCD screen. You get your photos back immediately, and there's very little cost after the initial investment. Film cameras, on the other hand, are none of these things. You have to rely on instrumentation to know if you're exposing right, wait for your developing to see your photos, and film is bloody expensive. But every photographer knows this, and yet some still shoot film. So, to answer this, I took a materials approach to my research and decided to do some side by side comparisons and evaluate the difference in the actual final product. I wanted to give both sides the best shot at presenting, so I've used the best cameras I could find. The digital camera is a Canon 5D Mark II with a 50mm 1.4 lens, and the film camera was a Hasselblad 500 cm with a roughly equivalent 80mm 2.8 lens. To keep as many variables consistent as I could, I stopped the Canon down to 2.8, as well as set the ISO to 400, the same as the film that I was shooting on. Now, there's a bunch of reasons why this isn't exactly apples to apples, but for the purpose of this experiment, this was the closest I was going to get for now. We're going to look at two photos, and here's the first one shot with my digital. It was a handheld out my bedroom window at a 30th of a second. Now, here's the film version. Neither of these have been retouched, and aside from the color shift, the most obvious thing in the film version is it is very grainy. What's more, the buildings in the back seem slightly more defined. Other than that, these photos just have a very noticeably different feel to them. Moving on, I wanted to try something with a long exposure, so this next shot was taken using a tripod and the shutter held down for just under a minute. Here's the first shot taken digitally, and here it is with film. Now, aside from the obvious increase in grain, the film image just really pops. I played around with the digital one to see if I could match it and came up with this, but it still doesn't quite feel the same. I should note, however, that the film image required hours of dust removal, which, as you can see, can be a real son of a bitch. What did I learn? Essentially, if you're willing to absorb the time and money costs of film today, you're probably doing it because of an intangible aesthetic quality that doesn't really show up on a spec sheet. Going forward, what I'd like to do is a broader comparison series and then do some audience research and present them to a range of photographers, do a sort of Pepsi challenge and see which ones they're drawn to and ask them why.